our next speaker, Ms. Parveen Sheikh, is going to do a workshop on intervention in youth. Okay, just to introduce Ms. Parveen, she's a head outreach at Empower. There is a long introduction I can give, but in a short of time, I will quickly say that she's a great friend, great psychologist. She has worked extensively across in last 22 years on various segments. But two things which highlights mainly in context of today's her work, that one thing is that she has worked internationally and nationally in terms of career guidance, and as well as secondly, she's also a member of National Adolescent Developmental Panel of Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, which is the mistress itself spoke in a key leader. So two things which mainly highlights her career, apart from her long, hard-working 22 years working in this area, makes her expert. I present you Ms. Parveen Sheikh. Ms. Parveen, can you please take it right from here?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Amrish, and that is such a lovely introduction. And I have 161 participants, so I feel that at the end of this conference, I'm kind of recapping all the wonderful things which I have heard. I have tried to be in most of the panels and discussions, and not some because I was busy. But I think I'm just going to be capturing again what has been discussed across these 2 days. And thank you, Dr. Amrish, Dr. Girija, for organizing this wonderful conference. And you have done a great job. I've seen that across the last month, how much you have worked. And of course, thank you to Dr. Vidya and the Symbiosis team, as well as, of course, Empower and Mrs. Nirja Birla, to giving us all of us this opportunity. So I'm going to quickly share my screen so you all can see what I have. Like, I put a few slides. I know you all had a long 2 days listening to a lot of people. I promised to make it interesting. Okay, and I don't know whether we can make it interactive, but interesting, I promise I will work on. Okay, and to make it interesting, so I'm going to share. Okay, so as Dr. Amrish introduced me so sweetly. So I was a part of the National Adolescent Resource Team with the ministry. I am still a part of that. Whenever they have meetings, I go. So initially, I realized we used to work a lot on career counseling and career guidance for youth, and that's where the Rajiv Gandhi National Institute of Youth Development was developed in Chennai. But I think now the whole conversation is changing to mental health, and all the more important, you've heard the reasons in the last 2 days. I won't say much about it. Okay, so I want to go to my next slide now. Okay, so I'm going to just show some pictures, and just to let you know about these celebrities, I'm sure you know all of them. So what is the common thing among these celebrities? What do these celebrities have in common, which which is relevant right now? So it's not rocket science to understand that at some point these celebrities, they had openly discussed about the mental health issues they were facing, right? So whether it was Shah Rukh Khan, when he said that I had depression when I had when he had his shoulder surgery, right? Then we have Deepika Padukone, who obviously keeps talking about what she went through with depression. Okay, Abhinav Batra, when he was an Olympic gold medalist, and way back in 2008, he said, I was in my most peak time and yet I went through depression. Hrithik Roshan, he kind of came in one of our campaigns at Empower, and he said that he's gone through depression. Varun Dhawan went through depression, and he spoke about it during Badlapur making. Recently, Virat Kohli opened about it. Anushka Sharma spoke about how she takes medications for anxiety. Daniel Radcliffe, all the Harry Potter fans would know him. So he obviously said that, he was going through OCD and obsessive compulsive disorder, as well as, he also, faced dyspraxia, which is a neurological condition, which coordination issue with his motor skills, and that impacted some of his daily tasks, right? So the good point is now people are talking about it. Now people are talking about what is happening to them. Okay. Having said that, I want to show you all a video. Okay. I hope you all can hear the sound. I'm going to the next slide now. Yeah.
I will think that he's mad.
I think some sort of insecurity, maybe.
It can be anxieties or depression or anything like a relationship issue as well.
I think family issues, sometimes family play a very important role on a person's health.
फर्स्ट थिंग तो कोई आવીને મને કહે કે મને મેન્ટલ ઇશ્યુ છે તો આઈ વિલ નોટ બિલીવ હિમ બીકોઝ મેન્ટલ ઇશ્યુ વાળો માણસ આવીને આવી વાત કરી શકે છે.
Maybe he's going through any family problems. If he's like a middle-aged man, maybe he's having some midlife crisis. Maybe he is on the verge of getting divorced with his wife, which he doesn't want to happen. Maybe he's fighting for the rights of his, like the custody for his kids over a divorce case. It can be anything, basically.
First of all, yoga. Second, share your things.
You should do yoga, you should do meditation, and you should be calm and peace.
Suggest that person to seek help.
YouTube पे जा स्टैंड अप कॉमेडी के वीडियोस देख खुश हो जाएगा.
You should consult somebody professional in this.
Buddy, all I can tell you is that I'll give you my mobile number, ask you to give me a call anytime you feel depressed.
Open up, because the more you keep it in your mind, the more you go into it.
Don't be ashamed of it. Don't be embarrassed of it. Happens to a lot of people, and you get past it.
Nice.
No, I don't know nothing about it.
To be honest, no, I don't.
I know that the suicide has been removed as being a crime. No, I was really young then.
Not a clue.
नहीं पता.
I don't know.
तनाव, उन्माद, इस टाइप के कुछ वर्ड हैं.
तनाव मानसिक रोग मे बी.
Dukhi.
Okay.
Tension is only the word I know. Even see.
No, I'm not that good at Hindi.
Could you tell us? I mean,
It is called avsad.
I don't know the full form, but I actually kind of know what it means. Like,
Obsessive compulsive disorder.
Obsessive compulsive disorder.
Out of psychedelic drug.
Don't know.
Obsessive compulsive disorder.
obsessive compulsive disorder.
shock therapy is something which is completely.
शॉक थेरेपी जो टेररिस्ट को करते ना टॉर्चर वो
सीधा दिमाग पे लाइक इलेक्ट्रिक्यूट कर रहे हैं किसी को.
इलेक्ट्रिकल शॉक दे आपके बॉडी में.
I mean, they connect some wires or something like that to their head and then give them some voltage shocks.
Use like voltage or whatever to like shock you, I guess. I think that's not a therapy. I mean, in real sense.
So, of course, you saw this video, and most of them were youth and what they had to say about and think about. Of course, in the last 2 days, I'm sure the whole myths of mental health have been, clarified with all of you. But with normal life being difficult, like now in Bombay, and of course in Pune, there is so much of these Corona COVID cases, and with normal life, people generally, these are various things people think of. You're just feeling frustrated, angry, upset. Like somebody told me yesterday that I was getting angry about something. I'm somebody who was going through anxiety. I said, you're just feeling frustrated, you're angry, you're upset, So that's a part of life. And your life cannot be so troublesome. It cannot be always anxious, right? Some people say most youth go through it. What the hell are you talking about? This is all fine. Okay, go take a walk, go for yoga, as you heard. Okay, go for Zumba classes. What is happening right now? You will feel good. Well, how is this problem been treated? They'll give you some medication, you get addicted. That's what you hear a lot about it. Okay, and the unfortunate things which I hear in my interactions, whether with youth or with parents or with students or with the policymakers, is people are just making excuses, which is really sad. That is what people generally think about mental health, and especially in youth, because youth is that age which is so crucial to our whole life, and our whole life path comes from there. So there are some myths which are, of course, this crowd which is hearing this would not would know about these myths, because he was speaking so much about mental health. But these are very common myths which I see in my interactions, and I've interacted with a lot of people, not just across India, also across the world. And it doesn't matter. It's an attitude towards mental health. So it's easier to recognize people with mental illness. No, you just saw the celebrities. Most of them said that they had depression, anxiety at the top of their career. So it's not right on your face. Okay. Mental illness according to hereditary or supernatural cases, of course, it's not always, I mean, it's obviously not like that, right? Okay, it's infectious, it's a myth. Okay, it's an attitude problem. That's the most common myth across. Mein theek ho jayega, it'll be fine. Okay, so these myths are pretty common. I hope conferences like this, discussion like these, can bust these myths across not only youth but everywhere, right? What happens? So when a child, what are the various ways one can, what is prognosis or how it works, how mental health can affect at different stages of life, right? So untreated adverse early childhood events only exacerbate over time. So for example, during childhood, during birth, there are developmental delays, there's expulsion. Because of that, a child might have some learning challenges or some developmental, disorders, which generally are caught or not caught. So that can start the process. Okay, when you reach the adolescent stage, is 13, right? There's delinquency, other mental health issues, sexual activity, drugs and alcohol. So all these things predisposes a young person to mental health issues eventually. Okay, and of course, when you come to youth, adulthood, post 18, it can turn into psychiatric problems, drug abuse, so common, alcohol, so common, and eventually in some cases leads to crime. See, one thing we need to all understand is, unlike physical health, right, which will affect, like I'm 45, so right now I'll have maybe having comorbidities. People can have diabetes or blood pressure or whatever with age. That's expected. But mental health works the other way, right? So mental health can affect as early as 7, 10 years of age or earlier than that, if there are developmental delays and all these issues. Okay, and if they're not diagnosed, if we've spoken about early intervention, Dr. Marcus spoke about early intervention. If they're not diagnosed at the right time, the person is living with it, thinking there's a problem, thinking what's wrong with me, or just coping with it in their own unhealthy, maybe, or maybe healthy ways. And by the time they grow, they become youth, it's a full-fledged problem. So that's where the awareness of mental health, the stamping out stigma, that's where people talk about it a lot. All the mental health champions, all the people who are mental health, influencers across the globe, I've met many. They say start early because of this reason, because then later it's difficult to even support them. It gets out of hand. So whatever we can, at some point you have to start early to be able to support, so it doesn't become a lifelong problem, right? So I'm not going to share a small case, a case study. We get a lot of cases at our Empower Centers, Foundation, ourselves. And this is the most common, I feel. That's why I picked up. Of course, the name has been changed. So Ramya was an 18-year-old shy girl. She's a good student and got admission to medical college, right? She didn't have many friends in school and junior college. In college, she really wanted to make friends. So she went to a batchmate's house party where the other girls offered her alcohol. Okay, you might think it's just a simple thing. Okay, so they offered her alcohol. So what? She's in 12 plus, so maybe 18, 19 years. There's no problem. At first, she refused, but then ended up consuming it so that she can be a part of the group. So being, be a part of the peer group, be accepted, right? So she's normal. Anybody till now, it's all going fine. Okay. She realized that alcohol is the reason of her getting a few friends. That's when she realized, okay, I've been lonely, I've not had friends, but because I had alcohol, I went to this party. So she started using that as an excuse to meet new people and make friends, right? Of course, you know how it works. Eventually, it started that reinforcement of coming out of loneliness, making new friends only through alcohol, that kind of thought process without any guidance from anybody. Eventually, she started consuming more day by day. Okay, of course, her parents, medical student, can't afford that. It affects results. In fact, they have to study a lot, right? So, of course, her parents, they were disappointed, and as her grades were also declining, it's very obvious. Okay, and they started imposing restrictions on her with limited pocket money. Now, here is where the problem has begun. The parents have realized decades have gone down. She has picked up a habit, and now it extended to her stealing money at home to consume alcohol. Okay, so this is one of the case studies which I wanted to share about alcohol. But I can tell you about a lot of people I've met, a lot of youth I've met, who end up doing serious crimes because they want to use drug abuse. And drug abuse is a very big problem which comes in youth, in college going. It starts with very simple trying, and then it goes on. And drug abuse has its mental health related concerns. Okay, so it works hand in hand with that. So one of the biggest problems which we see is addiction with youth because of and it can be because you're low self-esteem, you're not addressing your depression, your loneliness, and to compensate, you're doing something else in this case, and then it goes out of hand. Then the intervention becomes more and more difficult, right? So let's look at some more myths. Okay, so first is stigma around using mental health services are lessened, making it more likely to identify issues and seek help. So if you think in context of your college, if you're from Skewed, from Symbiosis, they have a whole setup. So maybe in that college community, it's not a taboo, it's lessened. But generally worldwide, okay, it is still a stigma. People still have stigma around mental health. They still, judge people who go for mental health. They still don't want to feel I'm less, and that you all know. I don't want to repeat it again. Okay. The second biggest myth for the youth is youth are not addicted to social media. They just spend more time on it. While I was preparing the slide, I got a call from a friend in Delhi, and she said that, can you recommend somebody? I have a 19-year-old son, and they're very well, a good family and well to do, and now the son is at home, and they live in a very big bungalow in Delhi. So like, since last 20 days I've not seen my son's face. So I said, what happened? She said, well, he has a whole gaming console in his room. Everything is in his room. Now you have Zomato and all these things. So he orders food, or there's a maid which goes and gives food in the room. And this kid is just not coming out of the room for any kind of interaction with his parents or family. Can you imagine that? I mean, imagine a parent living in the same house saying that my son is not coming out of this room. Okay, so social media addiction is real. Okay, you might feel that this whole need of, when I was listening to one of the actors, Ajay Devgan, and he was some regular. I just was browsing, and he was saying, when I go out with my children, when I'm sitting with them, that's when they're on the phone. If I take them out, they're out with the phone. If they meet their friends, with their friends on the phone, there's a phone everywhere. So one needs to recognize that and the effects of it. Of course, it affects pattern of living, and now it's become more because now you have to be on the online because of classes. So can you imagine the whole stress on this? So there is social media addiction is real, and one needs to be very cognizant about it. And this very controversial third sentence, cannabis is not harmful, it's legal in many countries. Okay. So I wish I could have interacted with a few of youth right now and had a discussion on this, right? So a lot of people, students tell me this, that no, it's not harmful. I can have pineapple juice and I can get, it can be, I can get detoxified or whatever that word they use, right? So there's been a study which says in 2012, that people who take in cannabis, the IQ points have dropped. Okay, it definitely affects the functioning of your brain. It affects the way thinking. It affects you. It's addictive. People say it's not addictive. It's very it is addictive. So there are statistics about that also, that people get addicted to cannabis. So these all myths are there around, and I've just taken three. These are there around mental health in youth specifically, especially about social media, cannabis, and other harmful substances. And one needs to be aware. Not only, see, a parent will be aware, a teacher will know, but youth need to be aware. Okay, what am I doing with it? So research has found out that they are more likely to, like, for mental health, the youth is more likely to self-harm, have poor body image, this whole size zero craziness which is happening. Okay, of course I was never part of that, but I just see that, and sleep issues because of using a lot of social media, low moods. Again, it's related because you're always seeing somebody else's life which is very bright, like obviously it affects moods. Okay, and youth today face pressures like social media, technology, harassment, sexual, otherwise. There are so many things which happen online which are harassment, but people don't realize, youth don't realize this harassment. Okay, like a student or a girl or a boy, wanting to send their pictures to their boyfriend, girlfriend, or they are forced to do that. That's harassment. But we feel it's a part of my relationship. It is not a part of a relationship. If somebody is forcing you to send pictures, that's not right, right? Bullying, obviously, and the need to conform. If everybody, I recently counseled a family, okay, where this girl used to put his pictures on Instagram, and very lovely girl, lovely grades, all fine, okay. And the mother came to me, said, we are very uncomfortable that she puts these very suggestive pictures on Instagram, and we don't know what we can do about it, right? So that need to confirm is heightened right now. So these things we need to kind of be aware of, right? um, so there are a few facts which you need to know. Like globally, 20% youth have mental health issues. In India, I think 7.3% of the 365 million youth will show some kind of mental health issue. So according to you have heard these statistics across the last 2 days. I'm just going to reiterate them. Okay, according to a WHO report, 1 in 4 people globally have a mental health issue at some point in their life. Around 1 in 5 of the world's children and adolescents have a mental disorder. People with severe mental disorders die 10 to 20 years earlier than the general population. Just look at the even life efficacy. Okay, half of all mental disorders begin by age 40 and 3/4 by age 24, which is the biggest concern I have for youth, right? And I'll tell you why in the later slides. Why is this a big concern, and why we must make programs, and youth need to get empowered to take care of their mental health. So according to the government supported NIMHAN study, the same thing, 1 in 10 Indians have mental health condition, 1 in 20 Indians have depression. So that's how the facts are so big, and that's why such conferences, such initiatives are extremely important, and youth need to be empowered, and we'll come to what will work with them, right? So this is my most interesting, I love to talk about this, right? So generation, so I am sure you all have heard about generations, baby boomers, millennials, and the generation Z, which is the centennials. Okay, we generally fall age 6 to 24, which most of you all are in this age, right? So what is the kind of generation, right? So they are not like, obviously, like I would be a baby boomer born in the 70s, right? And so simple thing is, the kind of life I saw, or my age people saw, is very different from the life people of generation Z are seeing, right? So they are called as digital natives because they were born when everything was digitized, right? They get so many experiences, the value experience. So that's how they're characterized. They appreciate creativity and innovation. So you look at your generation around, that's what. So anything which is experiential is what they value. Very practical, very financially minded, because Generation Z is seeing a lot of turmoil in the world. Okay, they're not trusting so much because they're seeing so much turmoil, COVID, and all the political issues and all the other issues that are happening in the world. So these are some characteristics of Generation Z. So when you want to have an intervention with youth, you have to understand the generation this is. Understanding generation is what the generation is like will help create customized interventions for youth and interventions for what they really want. And what Generation Z or Centennials, what they want is involvement. Like in the last panel discussion, when I was listening to one of the speakers speaking, and she said the generation needs to be involved. So it needs to be, of course, a two-way process, involving them in a lot of activities. So I have seen in my experience, I was doing a project at University of Melbourne, and there is where we had to come up with some intervention as a bunch of young people, grade 10, 11, I think, and not grade 12, 11, 12. Okay, so it was a summer program kind of a thing, and they came up with such amazing interventions for that project. I was just amazed. And there were people not only from Australia but across the world who had come for that summer program. And so involvement really was this age group, the Generation Z age group. So involvement. So experiential learning. So very important. It's extremely important to engage your senses, engage people. So nowadays, if you see all the courses, they are becoming very experiential in nature. Okay, and it's important for the Generation Z to work on that. That's what is important, understanding Generation Z and understanding what works with them. So experiential learning, as I'm speaking about, clear communication, very important to be clear in to be very important in how you're communicating, very clear objectives. So whether it's a center which is there in a college, or whether it is a program you're doing, or whether it is some social media digital thing, it needs to be clear and with them. Then open feedback. This generation likes feedback, so giving them feedback and regular feedback. Okay, not just exams is not the best way of taking feedback, but a regular feedback in terms of how they are faring, what they need to do, whether it is at office, whether it is at university, wherever they are. So it's important. Independent, innovative, creative projects, and that's what the tech entrepreneurs are investing. They want to invest in innovative projects so that they can get their early customers from the Generation Z, and of course opportunities to share personal stories and personal experiences. So this is what the generation is. This is what a generation needs. So any intervention around that will do wonders. And one thing which I would like to stress about is this generation also needs independence, a lot of independent work. So what worked for me when I was working, whenever I work with youth, is what worked for me was giving them projects, giving them the creativity and the space to look to take these projects across. And that's how. So when you want to, so in terms of mental health, when you want to create mental health positive youth, then it's important to create a mental health positive appreciative youth by giving them the independence of things. And I'll tell you one thing again. I want to go back to one slide, okay, where I missed one point. Okay, in this few facts which I was sharing about what the numbers are, why it impacts India, and I forgot that point. Okay, so our country in 2020 has become the youngest country in the world, which means average age of anybody in our country, of the majority population, is young, which is 29, 30 is what they are coming to. Okay, now think about it. Okay, so the average age of our country is 29, which obviously means there are many youth in our country. All these youth population is contributing to what? They are contributing to the economic development of our the country, right? By getting into jobs, careers, businesses, all of that. Now, if they are suffering from any mental health issue from an early age, which is not diagnosed, which is not given any intervention, okay, when they actually come to the age where they have to give back to the society, okay. In Ramya's case, she was being a doctor and all of that, and when she would have studied, and when that whole substance abuse is a chapter in her life has affected her mental health, right? That has taken a step back, and it might affect her studies and her eventual professional growth as a doctor. So that's why the intervention of youth and building resilience, supporting them becomes so critical. Because we will have, if we do not take that kind of step, okay, we will have youth which have issues, and they will not be able to contribute to their growth, as well as obviously the country's growth. So very important to keep that in mind, and that's why this is important. Right now, let's look at what has worked across and what should we do. And so campaigns, so I see a lot of engagement. So A's, as I told you, they like open communication and open feedback. So campaigns like this, and campaigns are not, so youth can do such campaigns like, there's okay to talk to. There are organizations like good like Harvard University runs that it's okay to talk campaign. Okay, there are like Empowered has so many campaigns. I'm sure Symbiosis would be doing digital campaigns. We give an opportunity for Gen Zs to talk. Remember I told you, opportunity to share their stories. So these kind of campaigns, because if you sit somebody down and say, okay, so no, humko aapse mental health, I want to talk to you about mental health, and this is very boring, right? But when it comes to campaign, and whether it is Mumbai or Pune or Mijwan or I don't know, some small city in some small state, okay, it doesn't matter. Social media is everywhere, right? So it's important. So these kind of campaigns, and I would encourage the youth today, whoever are attending this session, to actually look at something interesting and talk to, because peer-to-peer conversations are the best learning opportunity. You relate to them. Like we run a program called the Youth Mental Health First Aid. I'm going to talk about it. And we see that a lot of, like, we've run it in the BITS campuses, and it's been very, very popular. And, they're excited because that empowers them to help their peers, and peers listen to peers. So that's the best thing to, kind of focus on campaigns. So this social media handles. So, I keep following the Humans of Bombay stories or Empower Minds or Vitamin Street. So these things share stories which are they are resilient stories. And believe me, I'm somebody who's very occupied with all these, what is happening in the world, and it affects me. It gives me actual anxiety. Like I was just telling somebody yesterday, I'm feeling so anxious because the number of COVID cases are growing. And it's giving me a lot of anxiety. So what I do is I go on these pages and listen to resilient stories, which helps me, right? So saying your story, like I told in the slide, Gen Z likes an opportunity to share stories. So create that platform to share resilient, happy stories, and that impacts people. And this will not only impact people, it will also keep them aware of, what we make them aware of mental health. So rather than a scale, like I always say, and I always have this issue with the marketing people. I say, when you talk about physical health, okay, you're always showing this muscular men, women who are so healthy, and this is such a nice, happy picture. But when is anything about mental health, they're showing somebody holding their head generally. Okay, and that should not be the way we talk about mental health with youth, because that doesn't influence them. So having open forums, having such lovely campaigns which encourage people to talk with their peers, share their stories, I think that really works with the youth than directly just having a seminar. I mean, it works more. Of course, training programs, and there are literacy programs. And believe me, when I tell you, people do not know about mental health. Even professionals sometimes who are mental health professionals do not know about mental health the way they should know about it. There are a lot of myths and inconsistencies in knowledge. So, mental health literacy program, the Youth By Mpower, which I told you about, which even Dr. Claire clearly spoke about on the first day, that the Youth MHFA is run across 25 countries and train so many people, right? So, being the first aider, we'll come to that. Then lived experiences, influencer stories, and your story by actors. Like when you hear about somebody like a Shah Rukh Khan with everything, he said, I had depression. You say, okay, if he could deal with it, a lot of people can deal with it. So, working towards that is, working in that way would work with youth. So I would encourage all the universities, student bodies, do that. Talk to people, create such impactful campaigns, share your personal stories. Even if it was an episode, like always and always, whenever I'm attending a program, conducting a program, I always say, I have anxiety, okay, and I take medication for it, and that works for me. And That's how it is. So there's nothing wrong in that. I'm a fully functional person. So it works when you share your own story, when you talk about it, and of course get the right information and knowledge. And if you want to take this up as your passion, right? I mean, I'll be so happy that if you'll take up this. And imagine you're in a university which is giving you so much opportunities. Imagine students who have access to all the sad information which is all around, but do not have the opportunity to share their story or even know what to do about it. So y'all as students can do something through these kind of mediums, like you can be a peer educator and take training in mental health and go and train people. Like I was speaking to somebody from Andhra Pradesh the other day, and he was telling me that we want young students who are graduates who could go to the government hostel schools, okay, where they get students whose parents cannot take care of them. So those students are put in government hostel schools, and there are very bad mental health conditions there. So what they have seen is when they put young students, train them in a particular project and send them to the schools, that intervention works the best. So you become a champion, you work towards empowering younger youth, people of your age on this, right? So just coming to what Empower does. So in the last 2-3 years, 2016, 17 onwards, we started working. We have worked, as Mrs. Birla said, we worked with over 1,100 seminars, workshops, trainings with a lot of around 40,000-50,000 people. Okay, we do a lot of workshops with colleges. We work with a lot of Rotary clubs. Workshops on relationship management, substance abuse, mental health 101, social media and its impact, gaming, mindfulness. So all of these topics, which are sessions which help. So we have run sessions with IIT Mumbai and with a whole bunch of during the fest, a lot of colleges in Bangalore and Mumbai where we work with the students, right? Worked with. Then of course we have the youth mental health first aid training. I'll talk about it in more detail. We have the teen mental health first aid training. So we have a program again from the mental health first aid. We have the only licensees in India. So we run these programs for students 18 plus, youth mental health first training, and below 18 is a teen mental health first training. So you could take that and become a mental health first aider and support them and know how to talk to a person who is going through a mental health episode in their life, right? Of course, we have a mental one-on-one helpline. It's a call, chat service. We have our online counseling cells. So all that is there. Of course, your college has it, but you can share this information to people who don't have access to it, right? So going on to the next slide, so mental health first aid or MHFA is a training program which is pioneered in Australia. So Dr. Claire Kelly was a director of curriculum who came on the first day. So a person who has been through the training is qualified as a mental health first aider. So you go through this 14-hour training, you have to give an exam, an accreditation exam, and you're accredited for 3 years. And then you have to go for a follow-up training, right? And renew your accreditation. So it is a 14-hour program. It helps you understand specific conditions, depression, anxiety, eating disorders, psychosis, substance abuse. Also, how to manage cultural sensitivities around mental health issues. It actually trains you in steps on how do you approach a person going through this, what do you say, what support do you give, okay? And of course, research back, as Dr. Kelly also mentioned, is research back, it's evidence, it's all evidence-based research, it's customized to our country. So every country has the YMHFA program, and they customize to the needs of their country. There's one in Canada, one in UK, one in the US, and Saudi and other countries, and of course India, right? So the benefits, of course, are you can tackle mental health concerns confidently, appropriately, and without bias. Okay, so you can recognize them, you can tackle them, and you can take the people who are helping to the right channel. Okay, and it also gives you lifelong skills. So we have trained over 500 plus YMHFA, aiders and across India, and they come back to us and they say that what has happened, how they're helping. I'm sure you heard the talk from the BIT student yesterday and how he said he was helped. I'm not sure if he attended the training, but we have done a lot of sessions with the BITS group, so we know. Yeah. So this is I'm just going to open the screen to some of the sessions we have done. So. Yeah, so it's really interesting, and it's very activity based, and right now we have come up with the online version also. So 14 hours are done across 4 days of online version, so you can look at it. You want to be a pioneer, you want to be a champion, you want to be a first aider, you want to train people, you can just do this. It's really good. Okay, I'm a slightly biased again, because I would say every single parent, teacher, every student who's in college, plus 18 years, must do the YMHFA program. It is a great training program, right? And I can tell you this because just before the lockdown, I was in Australia for the conference, and I met all the people who are implementing this in different countries, and they really had such great things to say. And since I'm in Empower, I've been a part of this training, and my team does it, and I see the impact. I see the follow up. So equip yourself with the skills, right? Of course, we have the helpline, which you've been seeing during the videos. So this is the helpline number you can call. It's a 24/7 toll-free helpline. You can call, talk to the counselors. They'll help you out. They're all experienced psychologists. The number is 1800-120-820050. Please note it down. Share it with your friends. Just share it. And if you all want a poster to share in a community, share it now. I have, since last 2-3 days, I managed the helpline, so I've been getting a lot of feedback saying that the calls have increased. The reason the calls have increased and the chats have increased is because of the pandemic, right? I can tell you that when it was launched in April 4th, I think 3rd or 4th April 2020, because the government of Maharashtra wanted something immediately, so we had to finish this early, and we had to launch it within 7 days, because very big challenge for us, but we did it, and we got so many calls, and people have, and our calls are ranging from there are a lot of youth calling also with relationship issues, with stress issues, and all of that. So again, we have introduced a chat option. So either the Generation Z doesn't like to call so much, so you can chat. Go on to the Empower Minds website, and there will be a chat option. Just click on that, and you can chat. So that will help you. Share it with your friends, with your family. It's for everybody above 18, so you can share it. Of course, it's this 65,000 is again a number which is less. It's much more than this now. Some feedback about the helpline, and it helps. So that's what I have to say. Okay, and then of course, Empower has online counseling cells. So for students who do not have this access in their universities, like the Symbiosis student, you could contact Empower, and we could set up a cell. We have our cells in the BITS campuses in Goa, in Pilani, in Hyderabad. One is opening soon. And we have a lot of cells across schools and colleges and NGOs, which are like right now they are online because of the pandemic. So you can take an appointment and talk to the counselors on how to come to the center or the foundation. So that's what we do. And thank you. So I would like to, So I would like to just say that I've shared with you what Generation Z is and what works with them. Now is the time for you to be empowered, to be you're knowledgeable right now. Take the steps. Independence, apart from what your college, your university is doing, it's important for you to come ahead, get the knowledge. You have professors, you have teachers who are so helpful. There's a lovely team in Symbiosis I'm seeing across 2 days. Lovely set of counselors. Okay, if you're Symbiosis students or even nearby colleges, go there, talk to them. Okay, if you do not have access there, call up Empower, call the helpline. Idea is get informed and be knowledgeable about what you have to do so that you can take care of yourself. Remember, you are the ones running the country. We are the youngest country. That's, for me, a great thing, okay? Because young country, think about the changes you can get. But if you are boggled down with mental health concern, then our country ka kya hoga? Okay, so you have to, take this opportunity of whatever you've picked up from here. Get the help. I'm so appreciative of all the work that Q is doing, and whatever, of course, Empower is doing it. I'm sure other, like I heard about Manipal University also having something like that. It's such an important thing to get the youth to do this. So the Generation Z, independent generation, native technologists, okay, smart, innovative thinkers, use that to your benefit, okay. Become peer educators, become supporters, and make sure that mental health is taken care of not only by you, but also the people around you. That's what I have to say. So, Dr. Amrish and Dr. Girija, that's for my session. I didn't want to, extend it too much beyond time. That's why I thought I'll just keep for few minutes for questions if anybody has. That's why there's 6 more minutes for questions if somebody has a question. I'm very happy to answer.
Thank you very much, Praveen. We'll wait for a minute if anyone has a question. Meanwhile, we do that. I want to ask a question for the sake of everyone. MHFA, you spoke about mental health first aid, and Dr. Claire also spoke about mental health first aid, and it has been in 25 countries. So can you tell me about your experience? How youth reacted when they took up the course, because it's such a wide course for so many countries. So how does Indian youth reacted? Does they accepted it? Was there any cultural differences? How was the reactions?
So when we did the MHFA, and we did it with a lot of college students, okay, initially the sign up was, I remember in BITS, the first sign up was 10 students, okay, and a batch size of 25. So nobody wanted to attend, like, kya hai ye, kya kar rahe hai, okay. When they came in this, and Dr. Amrish, before we launched the YMHFA in India, 1 year went into customizing it to Indian things. So what YMHFA does is it gives you the content, and then they work with you. So Dr. Claire Kelly worked with us to customize it to what Indian context. So we did all of that. We have translated that into Hindi, Marathi, and English so that we can, so that made it very, very relatable. But initially, what I saw was, and this was in 2018, right? Okay, first batch was 10 students and nobody cared really. But when they actually came for the session, and when we had 6 sessions in BITS Goa, right? 6 or 4. The second batch is we had to say no because 25 was the last number which we could take. Okay, so what I find is students know a lot of misinformation more than information. So when we conduct the sessions, because they're all educated, good students, they come in from good university, they know mental health, but they have a lot of misinformation. Right, like biggest misinformation is about it will affect my grades. It will I will, if I go to a counselor or go to a psychiatrist or go take medication, it will directly affect my grade. But it's not true. You all know that, right? You all are all psychiatrists. You all know that. So those myths, I feel, are very important to clarify, which gets clarified during the YMHFA. Plus, when they get to know the effects of substance abuse, I find the substance abuse section so relevant in YMHFA because there are so many myths, because all the students like to justify that part of substance abuse. So that works really well. Anxiety, eating disorders, where we feel हमारे country में खाना नहीं है तो eating disorders कहाँ से होंगे? No, we feel like that. But it's unbelievable the kind of eating disorder issues we have in our country with the youth and what they do. So when they go through YMHFA, it all comes out. In fact, what I found also was, then they'll Google things because Google is the answer to all the problems during the session, and they will ask the most random and, of course, the most random questions or important questions. So the main objective of YMHFA is not only just creating aiders, but diminishing the myths which the youth have and guiding them correctly, so they know what they have to do, and that encourages them. So I've seen some fantastic, even like all our aiders, I've seen a change in their attitude also, like in the 2 days. So we kind of connect with them, send them posters, send them like to keep in touch, and we see the kind of things they share with us, how they help their person, how they like even in the BITS centers, because of the YMHFA volunteers, our numbers have increased in the counseling cell because they have helped their friends take help from the counselors, So that's how the YMHF has been taken. I really encourage it. In fact, I was telling Dr. Girija also, remember Dr. Girija, I told you, let's do this course for your students, for your counselors, that let's make them mental health first aiders because it's really important, and it'll be like a whole bunch of mental health champions we're creating everywhere in India, and that's what is really good. So yes, Dr. Amrish, I hope I've answered your question.
Absolutely. I think that was really wonderful, and I hope that all who are listening, at least go through what MHFA is, what YMHFA is, and understand what it is. And I am very sure that because I have taken that course, being even psychiatrist, and it is so subtle and so nice way of explaining it, and you remember it so well. And it has really, they've done really hard work, and all kudos to Dr. Kelly to do such a hard work that it could sustain all those countries and so many years.
And Dr. Girija, I'll tell you one more thing. I mean, the YMHFA course, in spite of all Empower people being psychiatrists and psychologists, they have to compulsorily take that course in Empower as a part of their training. And like how Dr. Amrish says, if for everybody, in spite of being PhDs and whatever degrees they have, they still find it so relevant. So it's a very simplified course, you know. So I would really appreciate people looking at it. Go to the website, check about it, and you know. And I'm not promoting it as a promotion. I actually genuinely feel that it's important. So.
No, true, Parveen. I get your passion, and it's amazing to see the kind of work you and Empower are doing, through MHFA and all the other verticals and services that you provide. It's truly amazing. We need many more such organizations and services to take up the vast amount of work that is there in our country, and through MHFA build capacity. I guess that's the way to go along, because we definitely can't increase the number of mental health professionals. That's a very uphill task, and we'll never be able to meet that kind of a demand. But certainly through MHFA, we can definitely look at building more capacity, training more and more people to have that communication that is so much needed, not using the kind of scientific jargon that mental health professionals tend to use, using the local language to connect with people and to get them the necessary help that is required. Thank you so much, Parveen.
Yeah, Dr. Girish, I just want to add one thing. Dr. Amrish, in fact, created Disha program for the rural population. It's an ETA program. We have done 37 batches with the rural population of India just to make them aware of mental health. So what I try to say is, for the young people, get the knowledge, whether from wherever you're getting the knowledge of the right sources, and imparted. Once we stamp out the stigma, we build capacity, we will be in control of this soon. So that will in turn develop their resilience, make them productive, happy youth. That is what my wish for the people is. Yeah, thank you, Dr. Girija. Thank you, Dr. Amrish.
Thanks, Parveen.
Thank you, Parveen. With this, we end up with the workshop.